And as that movement has found its voice, we are hearing other voices questioning whether this is the right road to go down. Joining me today, forensic psychiatrist Dr. Carole Lieberman and director of the Women's and Children's Advocacy Project, former prosecutor Wendy Murphy. Good to have both of you with us. Carole, you've said that women are shouting sexual harassment like a battle cry, toppling men in Hollywood and D.C. like a house of cards. Things have gotten out of control. Not all of these cases are sexual harassment. Where is the concern for you?
Well, you know, as an expert witness, I have testified on both sides of this case. And these cases take weeks oftentimes to be decided by a jury. And yet now, because of this battle cry, because of how the loudness of this cry and this movement, men are getting found guilty by public opinion, and then they're made to resign or they're being fired. And I think it's just, of course, it is true that sexual harassment happens. There are women who have been assaulted, raped, and so on, and they have scars, psychological scars. However, there were other reasons for why women make these claims. In civil suits, monetary reasons, of course. A lot of times it's women who were in consensual relationships, and then it didn't quite go the way they thought. They thought they were going to end up in a real relationship with this person, or the person would leave their wife, and that didn't happen. So then all of a sudden this became, in their mind, sexual harassment.
So let me stop you there for just a minute, because a lot of the women who have come forward, and there have been men who've come forward too, let's not forget that.
Yes, yes.
They have been very clear about the fact that they are not looking for any monetary gain here. And that they are not trying to necessarily topple someone. In many cases, it's women coming forward because they now feel that they can say something without fear of retribution. Is that a good thing or a bad thing for society, Carole?
Well, it's true in some cases, but you know, I just heard in the news this morning that there's some women suing Harvey Weinstein and his company for $10 million. So it's not in all cases that it's just you know, for the benefit of society. And in fact, I think it's damaging society, whether these men are guilty or not. You know, it's damaging the in the larger picture, it's damaging the relationship between men and women. Men are afraid, are becoming increasingly afraid of women, and there's no flirting anymore, there's no romance anymore. You know, dating has gone down the tubes. It's changing everything.
Those are some pretty strong claims. Wendy, are men really losing out that badly here? Are they now afraid of women and don't know how to act?
I just have not seen that, and I think it's laughable to describe any of the high-profile stories we've read about and heard about as dating, or, you know...
No. That's not what I was saying.
Come on.
That's not what I was saying.
I think Carole was referring to relationships, not to those. Go ahead, Wendy, I'll let you respond. But is there part of this movement? Is there part of people coming forward that risks taking away from the good many of these women and men are trying to do? Is it going too far?
It's such an irrational statement that I'm not sure if I can answer it without raising my voice. But let me say it this way. Women have been silent for decades. Can we at least have a decade or so to speak before somebody says enough? You've had enough time. You've had enough justice. Only 2% of rapists spend one day behind bars in this country. Well over 1 million women are raped annually in this country. 500,000 college women are sexually assaulted when they should be learning. And you're telling me we've spoken enough? There is no justice when the numbers are that high. It's like saying we've done enough to address racism. There's far more sex and gender-based violence in this country than there is violence against any other class of people.
But there are a lot of
women. We should be silent? Are you kidding?
Not the women who have bona fide cases. You know, Paz de la Huerta, for example, was raped by Harvey Weinstein. She shouldn't be silent. But the majority of the cases, or enough cases, is just, you know, Me Too. It's Me Too. I want my 15 minutes of fame. There are a lot of other motivations to some of the people.
What are you talking about? What are you talking about? Even if you've heard of one case where you think it's not a legitimate claim,
for example.
It's not. Those were not legitimate cases. He apologized, and being touched on your butt or your breast or your lips by someone and you don't want it to happen, that's a sexual assault. It's a crime. It's a felony.
There is a difference. There is a big difference.
Funny. And if Al Franken and you think it's a joke, you both need to stay quiet. Not the women, you two.
There's a big difference between someone being touched on the butt. I'm not saying if you don't want that to happen, it shouldn't happen. I'm not saying it's okay. But the woman who was accusing him, the original woman or the main woman who was accusing him, who was a radio personality in Los Angeles, she was a Playboy model, and she was on this tour.
So what? I don't care if she was doing naked cartwheels down Main Street. He doesn't have a right to touch her. And by the way, she was the one who said she didn't want him to lose his job. She was the one who actually cared about the guy a little bit.
But she certainly was doing this for her 15 minutes of fame. You know, you have to look at the other motivations.
What did she get out of it?
She got a lot of TV coverage.
You know what you get out of this? You know what you get out of this, Carol? You get more expert witness jobs. Is that why you're doing this? Because you sound out of your mind crazy to tell people to stay quiet.
I have enough expert witness jobs, thank you very much. And I determine it takes quite a bit of psychiatric evaluation to determine whether the woman is telling the truth, or I've had cases where the men...
Are you kidding me? How about doing some psychiatric evaluations of the men? How about telling them that they need a tune-up because they can't keep their hands off of women?
I do that.
These women aren't crazy.
As well.
Do you know how many years women in this country have suffered with people like you saying, oh, maybe she's crazy, perhaps she's lying? When are women going to be entitled to the presumption of respect from people like you? When are they going to get the decency from people like you, the belief that comes with the presumption that everybody's entitled to?
You are
when we report rape, we expect to be believed and respected.
And this is the problem with this Me Too movement. That is the problem. There are some legitimate women who have been legitimately sexually harassed or assaulted, and then there are women who are just really angry at men. That's the problem.
You probably hate the.
Wait, but can I stop you? I'm going to stop you both. I'm going to stop you both for a minute here, because one of the things that has come up is not so much that these are women who are angry at men, but that there are a number of different things that are being talked about at the same time here. There is sexual harassment. There is sexual assault. They are different things. They both deserve to be taken seriously, regardless of which category they fall under. But Carole, you're making the case, it sounds to me as if you are making the case that the majority, you believe the majority of the women who have come forward across the board, not just accusing people whose names that we know, that they are doing it for some reason. I mean, I have to go back to even some of Ronan Farrow's reporting in The New Yorker. Annabella Sciorra, an actress who her claims about Harvey Weinstein are 2 decades old. And one of her concerns for not speaking out, not only the backlash professionally, was her concern that she didn't want to be labeled in that way. She didn't want to forever be known as this woman who came forward and accused Harvey Weinstein. You know, to Wendy's point, it is a difficult thing for someone to raise their hand and say, I have felt assaulted, harassed, or violated in this way. Do you really believe the majority of these women are doing this for some sort of 15 minutes of fame or some sort of financial gain? I
don't know if it's the majority. I don't know the percentage, but certainly there are some.
But why do you, can I ask, but why do you believe that? Because so many of them have come out and said exactly that. I didn't necessarily want to talk about this, but I'm talking about it now because that happened to me too, and it's not okay.
Well, okay, but then why are they saying that? Because it's not okay. I mean, the reason why I'm saying it is because I personally have examined over the years many women who have come forward and said, Me Too. I mean, you know, this was before the Me Too. And it really wasn't Me Too. There was some other reason. So all I'm saying is that it's gotten irrational. There has to be a more rational kind of conversation about this, not just that if somebody accuses a man, he loses his job or he resigns from Congress. What about all these cases where there were weeks? Juries heard weeks of testimony before deciding whether someone was guilty or not.
Right, but that's separate. That's a jury. We are, to your point, we're talking about the court of public opinion. A lot of these people are not trying to press charges. They can't press charges because of the statute of limitations.
Right.
We only have about 30 seconds left. Wendy, I'm going to let you say something real quick. Carole, you say something real quick. Ladies, make it quick. Say your piece.
I just think it's important.
There is no reason
Carole, let Wendy.
to
go ahead, Wendy.
There is no reason to presume that women as a class are more likely to lie when they report sexual assault than any other class of people when they report violence or harassment. It is discrimination in its ugliest and most extreme form that a person, much less a professional like Carole, would come on a program and say, we need to be more skeptical. We need to be the opposite of skeptical for a change.
We're going to have to leave it there. We are out of time. I'm going to lose some satellites. Wendy Murphy, Carole Lieberman, thank you both.
You bet.